I think there is only one wrong way to start something new, and it is to not start it at all. Especially when that something new is something that your heart is inviting you to put out there. And that has been my experience with this podcast, this heartcast, this new show, Enheartened. So I decided that the best way I would start it would be also what I consider to be the most imperfect way, for me to just lean in here and to have an open-hearted conversation with you about the design behind this podcast. And I like to think of it as a heartcast, which is a sacred transmission from the heart. If you are new to my work, my name is Xavier Dagba. A few things I can say about me is I am a dad of three. I am a family man by essence. That's at the core of who I am. And I am also a seeker. I think that has always been a part of my blueprint. Growing up, I was always the one that would ask questions that people around me didn't necessarily know how to answer. I was the one who would challenge some aspects of the Catholic tradition that I was raised into. I was the one who was confused as to why I needed to believe certain things or to just blindly swallow some beliefs. And that has followed me my entire life. And it has only grown since then. I was never able to really silence my devotion to the mystery, my devotion to depth. And that devotion to depth has followed me in everything that I've created so far, my devotion to integration. And I'm not just talking about shadow integration, I'm also talking about the integration of your light, of your fullness, of your brightness. So, one thing I would love to just name about myself is this devotion to depth, to truth, and even the truth that sometimes scares the living shit out of me. I've learned how to bring myself back to it over and over until I'm able to build the body, the emotional capacity to be with truth, not just the truth out there as information, but also the truth of who I am, the truth of being a human on this earth plane that has access to light and dark, that can express some of the brightest traits ever, and can also express some of the darkest ones. So, the intention behind Enheartened is to usher a healthier relationship with our fullness. Let's talk about the word enheartened to begin with, or enheartenment. The way I perceive enheartenment, it starts with this middle path that I consider as the intersection between enlightenment and endarkenment. We have collectively a stronger propensity towards only wanting to display the brightest sides of ourselves. And it makes sense. It makes sense to want to display what we see as light, lovable, beautiful, and all of that. And in doing that, sometimes we can disown what is perceived as dark. So most spiritual seekers, we kind of have this devotion to light that can sometimes show up as addiction to light. And by addiction to light, I mean we are not sometimes willing to accept ourselves when we experience what could be seen as not enlightened enough, not expanded enough in consciousness. And therefore we can bypass it. Sometimes we can experience what I like to call disembodied light. It is a light that is not really grounded, that is not really connected to the body, to the earth, to the ground. And there's also the practice of Endarkenment. And by Endarkenment, it is meeting all these aspects of ourselves that usually are below the surface, hidden within the body, hidden in the unconscious, the ones that we feel less proud of, the ones that would we usually try to hide. And that is a practice that has a bright side and it also has a shadowy side, because it can be a very much humbling and sobering practice that helps you be more connected to what makes you human in a very much compassionate way. And at the same time, some people can get lost in it. Some people can be hijacked by some of these darker traits, by some of the wounding that hasn't been necessarily metabolized and resolved. So we can get lost in there too. Even in the practice of shadow integration and shadow work, people can get lost in a shadow, always looking for the next shadow to transmute, to alchemize, and not feeling whole and complete until you have allowed yourself to resolve every wound or to address every trauma and all of that. And I really feel like we are invited to figure out what it looks like to navigate the path at the intersection of both, where you are not just integrating your light, you're also integrating your shadow. And you actually go beyond the shadow and light, and you start realizing what I am actually calling shadow self. This is a perception that I have. What I am actually calling shadow self. Maybe in truth, it is just the dark face of my higher self. And what I mean by that, it is, we enter this world of duality where, in order to exist on this plane, it feels like an aspect of your consciousness had to separate itself because you weren't able to hold your fullness. So an aspect of it got endarkened, and another aspect of it feels more bright and something that you might find yourself reach out for some more. Like, we naturally have this kind of split. And my theory, or the way I like to look at this duality, is what we call shadow self is just the dark twin, if you wish, of the higher self. But in essence, there is a realm where they have absolutely zero separation whatsoever. When we transcend light and dark. And that doesn't mean that you drop completely your moral compass. There is such a thing as, I would love to think of it as an inherent cosmic sense of morality. There's such a thing as knowing when you are doing something that is inflicting harm. So, transcending the conversation of light and dark, it is not about erasing, what is harmful or what is not harmful, but it is getting to this place where we graduate love, a love that does not reject any aspect of who you are. I really feel like we are navigating this liminal space where we are learning how to graduate love. And that is what I mean by enheartenment. It is as if your heart is expanding. Your holographic heart is expanding to become the field through which you are operating. A field where every single aspect of yourself is welcomed in. An imagery that I'm going to offer is, imagine that there is this energetic field that is surrounding you. And that field can be porous when there are aspects of yourself that you don't know how to love yet, and they are exiled from your heart, meaning there are these holes in your energy field, and these holes are created by the aspects of you that you haven't allowed back into your heart yet. Because when you allow genuinely yourself to make more peace with aspects of yourself, even the most dysfunctional, what happens there is there's more congruence within yourself. And that doesn't mean that even this dysfunctional traits that they get to run the show in your life, you know now how to relate to them from a more wise place. They are no longer hijacking you in the dark. You have more leeway, more capacity to make wise choices, informed with truth, and maybe even with benevolence. And that is the path of enheartenment. And this is what enheartened is all about. To basically explore what it looks like to walk the line between ascension and descension. And what are we actually descending? We are descending more of your light. I'm inviting you to see yourself as a lightning rod. And I mean it metaphorically, but I also mean that in a very much real way. But instead of anchoring lightning, what you are anchoring here in this realm, it is more of your own inner divinity. You are allowing it to descend through you. You are allowing it to be infused in your cells. You are allowing it to inform every choice you make. And you are allowing it not to be used as an instrument of like spiritual dissociation, saying, oh, I'm only positive, never negative. I'm only loving, never hateful. I'm only peace and calm, never angry and wrathful, which is, in my opinion, a big fantasy that we are operating from. We are moving beyond that conversation because, in my opinion, people who have a healthy relationship with their light and a healthy relationship with their own capacity for darkness are some of the most loving people I know. Are some of the most loving people I know. They are aware of their triggers. They are aware of their boundaries. They are deeply in touch with their anger. They are deeply in touch with their compassion. They are able to tell you, to speak their truth to you, not from a place of not from a place of wanting to hurt, but from a place of transparency, open-hearted transparency. In my experience, these are some of the most loving people I know. They will not serve you some sort of like fake niceness, and they will not also use their history as a way to excuse some of their unhealthy patterns. Because at this point, I think it is common knowledge we've all gone through wounding. We've all gone through pain. We've all gone through hurt. And I think we are moving beyond that conversation where we are now taking responsibility, which is ability to now show up with a heart more open and to no longer justify and rationalize our dysfunction, no longer rationalize our patterns that are not rooted in love. And and even when these old patterns, they happen to kind of like express themselves again, because we are all human, we are able to meet ourselves with more grace and continue the work of transforming, of really transforming. So the conversation, the guests that are lined up for these episodes that we will be sharing, that I will share with you, they, in my experience, carry their own version of what it looks like to live an enheartened life, where you are willing to embrace more of who you are, where you are devoted more to your own fullness. I mentioned something at the beginning, which is to create a healthy relationship with your light and to create a healthy relationship with your own darkness. And I think it is so pivotal in the place where we are collectively in our human evolution, because many people have what I like to think of as sometimes of an insecure relationship or even attachment to their light. What I mean by that is sometimes we infuse of our light or brightness with so many fears. For some people, they don't know how to accept themselves when they are not all love and light. For some people, they crave to express it, but they don't trust it. They crave to express their purpose, their passion, but they fear that if they allow themselves to be seen in that, it's gonna create some humiliation alienation, loss, persecution. It might come with some form of unwanted outcome. It may invite of them to die many times internally, at the very least former identities, so that they can really express their blueprint. It might require that you make peace with losing, literally, status, maybe relationships, or to lose something that you don't feel like you're ready to lose yet. So there is a certain degree of emotional maturation that is necessary for you to embrace more of your fullness. And many people have this very much fearful relationship with the brightness where they love it and they fear it. They want it or they might feel unworthy of it. They desire it, but they feel that it might come at a cost that they are not necessarily willing to pay yet. And the same kind of relationship can also happen in a different way with our shadow, where we may have some form of like anxious relationship with our shadow. And that often shows up as over identifying with some of the wounds that are in there, staying stuck in pain. Feel it's like this love-hate relationship with our shadow where on some level we want to be free from these energies, denser energies within ourselves. And at the same time we fear, oh, if I let go of that, what is going to happen? Who will I become? I cannot trust. Like there's no foundation on the other side of living a life where my shadow material is not acting out. So we get to develop the bravery to move beyond it. And some people have more of a pretty much avoidant relationship with their shadow, meaning if I just repress it, maybe it will go away. Forgetting that what you run from will end up running you until you face it. And I really feel like whether it's with your shadow and with your light, you get to build this relationship where you have a secure attachment with both. Because remember, I really see both as two sides of your inner divinity. Your higher self and your lower self. Your higher self or your shadow self, if we're going to use these terminologies, are two aspects of your inner divinity. What you see within you as lovable and nice and likable, and what you see as within yourself as despicable and unworthy of even your own love. All of that needs to be met with a new quality of open-heartedness that will actually liberate you. And a secure attachment with your shadow would look like meeting your past wounds with a new quality of compassion, exploring your triggers with curiosity, knowing that you don't need to be fully healed to be deserving of your own love. And a more healthy relationship with your light can sound like a secure attachment with your light can be like giving yourself permission to express it, even when you don't feel that it has been validated by the world around you. Feeling at home with your gifts and seeing the value in them, feeling worthy of your brightness, and also allowing yourself to express it freaking imperfectly. This whole podcast is about self-liberation. And I guess you can feel the passion and the fieriness in my voice as I'm speaking about it, because lately one of my biggest mantras has become fuck it. Just fuck it. Just fuck it. And I'm going to say that again. Fuck it. This big conversation or this show that I'm starting is about as well giving myself permission to be spiritually incorrect. And it is a big part of my journey at the moment. What I mean by spiritually incorrect is this space where my reverence for the divine within is also kind of like meeting a little bit of irreverence. In the sense that sometimes we try to be so spiritually perfect that we sterilize the beauty of the whole thing. We make it sterile. It's as if you try to sanitize something so much that the product that you're using to sanitize it denatures what you were attempting to sanitize to begin with. And I feel like as a society, we've attempted to do that, to sanitize ourselves so much. And yes, it's created a civilization, it's allowed us to evolve. And on a certain degree, I feel like we are in this place where we are invited to look at our own insanity in the eye and reconcile with this aspect of our blueprint in our nature. So, Enheartened is about reclaiming your fullness. It is for people who are tired of living a life where they feel unfree. It is about self-liberation. It is about unleashing your fullness in your own ways. And that doesn't mean that you need to go ahead and start a big mission that will change the world. It means at the level of your own life, you live a freer, more loving life that is not just loving when you are all love and light and beauty and, but that is also loving towards yourself even when shadow stuff emerges. I really feel like our liberation starts there. Beyond everything, there is this question: what does it look like to be an integrated human? What does it look like to be an enheartened human? Somebody really in touch with all layers of their beingness. Emotional, psychological, spiritually. What does it look like to mature more emotionally, to make more room for your brightness? That's what we are about to lean into. And it is my profound honor to be your guest. It is my profound honor to take you through this conversation. So this is episode 1 of Enheartened. And my invitation is to go out there and sign up for the show. It is to get ready to have many, many conversations that I hope will not blow your mind. Because we live in a life where sometimes your mind can be so blown to pieces with new information coming at you from many different angles that your psyche and your brain have a hard time keeping up. My hope is that these conversations blow your heart open. And through that opening, that you welcome more of your fullness, that you can become more loving to people around you, especially to yourself. That's the intent of Enheartened. So I want to welcome you to the show. You can watch on YouTube. You can follow the show on your favorite streaming platform, podcasting platform. And also I'm inviting you to join the newsletter, Embodied Light. It's my newsletter. You can go on newsletter.xavierdagba.com, where you will be able to receive the updates about the show, about upcoming episodes, but also where you will receive my insights around things that I believe will help you live a more enheartened life. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next episode.